I kept her going for about 30 minutes. I said, now don't tell Granny. What's the first thing you did? Yeah, I told Granny to go home. So we are I see this. Oh, yeah. He's not really different. I can't get him to see. I put the trees on the trees. Got two in one. I just can't see the control. It doesn't mean I can't get this one. I got his mom said that he had a car here on 222. That's yeah, we'll Marvin, we'll get after my son.
I call to order the City of Gerald regular call council meeting, July 2nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. First item on the agenda is a roll call. We have two members not here, Councilman Jeff Seidel and Adam Marsh. All right, we will now have an invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Robert Christopher.
Never done this before, so I'm not sure exactly how to do the prayer. Okay. Daddy, I just come before you tonight, and I thank you for this time together. I just thank you for this community, and Father, I thank you for these leaders. I ask that you give us the faithfulness of Abraham, the desire for you of David, and the wisdom of Solomon, Father. I ask that you guide them, lead them, and direct them, give them the patience and the care and concern that you would have us for our fellow men. We give you all praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The next item on the agenda, we have a proclamation. Agenda item 2.1, we have a proclamation declaring August 1st, 2024 as Education Connection Day. General proclamation to designate August 1st, 2024 as Education Connection Day, whereas Education Connection is celebrating its 15th anniversary, and whereas in 2009, the church community asked city leaders what could be done to make a long-lasting impact in greater Austin area. In 2010, Education Connection began reading with students at one elementary school in Leander ISD. And whereas Education Connection helps students in Central Texas public schools to read at grade level by the end of third grade, so they become lifelong learners. And whereas research shows that third grade illiteracy is the largest issue facing Central Texas. The barrier could affect students' ability to graduate, in turn financially impacting our community. And whereas Education Connection primary concept is that they model a love of reading with every student, the secondary concept is to impact the community through supporting and encouraging student progress in illiteracy. And whereas today more than 13,000 volunteers are serving at least 2,845 students in 16 school districts across Central Texas. By sitting with elementary children each week for 30 minutes to read one-on-one, and now therefore it be resolved, I, Patrick Sherrick, Mayor of the City of Gerald of Texas, recognizes August 1st, 2024 as Education Connection Day. Proclaimed this the second day of July, 2024. agenda, public comments. I don't believe we have any. No. No public comments. All right, moving on. Consent agenda items. Would you like to discuss? We'll discuss? Yeah, I figured.
Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
4-4. E-4-5. And 4-6.
Would you like us to just go into an overview of it first?
Yeah, so,
All right, we'll start with 4-4, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding a contract amendment for the ARPA project.
Mayor and council, on this one specifically, as you guys know, we have the ARPA project coming down. We're bringing a water transmission line from the east side of town to the west side at our existing site on Route 10. Originally, the plan for this ARPA project was to do an elevated tank. And the way that the pressure planes worked with the elevation change from the east to the west, operationally, it was not functional whatsoever. We would be maintaining like 7 feet of water in the bowl, and it's not enough to do anything. We couldn't serve anybody with it. So this change specifically was switching from the elevated tank to a booster pump station with ground storage so that we can use it day one. As soon as that line is turned on, we can start pushing water around the city, and then at a later date we can talk about the elevated tank and doing that. The current ARPA funds cover the cost of this change minus the engineering. So in our original ARPA project, we agreed to cover the cost of the soft cost, engineering, easements, certain permitting, stuff like that. And so that's what the next change is, but this is the approval of the change in project. We've ran it by the county, they're completely supportive of it, and they understood it. They passed an approval already. Lone Star Regional Water Authority, who's our financing mechanism for this, has also approved it in their board meeting pending our approval. Gerald Schwender Water didn't have to get approval, but their board did accept the change as well. So we're the last step in the process.
Okay. And then 4-5, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding budget amendments for fiscal year 24.
All right, and so we have 2 budget amendments that are part of this action. One being tied to the project that Jordan just mentioned. You'll notice that the project amounts don't line up, and that's simply because we, when we rolled money into there earlier this year, we rolled some excess, and so that's why the amounts don't, but it is to cover the engineering, so I think it's 414,000 that we needed still in there to cover that 510 that were additional that we're responsible for. So it's for that ARPA project design. And then the other part is to add additional money into our sewer contract labor line item. We have had higher billing than we anticipated with Infomark. But this specifically, we had a couple of major line breaks. One which was in the 6 figures amount. We intend to work with our legal to try to see if we can get reimbursed for some of those expenses, but it's still something that we have to pay up front. The good thing is we have, our water and sewer revenues have been way up. Whenever we budgeted very conservatively. So we actually, as of yesterday when I looked, we had actually already collected what we anticipated to collect for the entire year for our water and sewer revenues. And so we're completely fine. It's expected that as we have more service, we have more cost of service. So it's not gonna, we're still gonna have a balanced budget overall. Now where I've shown it coming from through here is from the fund balance, simply because it's coming from multiple line items. But before the next meeting, you will have your budget and it will show, it will kind of reconcile all of those additional revenues we have with it as well.
And then for 4.6, we have been struggling with Infomark as a contractor. There have been several instances of overbilling, things that we couldn't track because their invoices were unclear. With that being said, a couple of weeks ago, we did receive a TCEQ violation notice, and what was listed on that violation is things they should be doing in regular O&M. It was included in the contract, it was strictly compliance. I mean, we can't get monthly reports from them because they don't exist. We can't get things like a wellhead calibrated, which took a phone call and 10 minutes to get done. minor things like that. Customer service has been severely lacking from the staff and the resident level. We've had several complaints on both ends. So this, we've talked previously about looking for a new contractor. Crossroads had submitted with the RFQ on it, so they were next in line to start negotiating a contract. Their contract is a little higher than Infomark's base rate, but it covers more within it. And part of that is adding things like generator maintenance, which was not in Infomark's contract that we've been paying out of pocket for. It's also training an operator on staff so that they can cover down and we can start that transition into having in-house staff that's handling this stuff. None of that was covered in Infomark's contract. There's a bunch of ins and outs that go with that. We reduced their allowance for incidences and events, so if something does happen and they have to go out there, they have a lower threshold before they have to contact us and get approval for it.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is, as we've been struggling with Infomark, we've had several instances where we've called the people from Crossroads. They've stepped up, they've been able to loan us equipment to deal with some major issues. It has been nothing but a great relationship to start with, and so this is a good thing. But also one thing to note, that within that line item, you are approving an additional staff member. We have not had to bring you budget amendments for all the additional staff we've added throughout the year, such as our city engineer, our building inspector, because we've had salary savings to cover it. And so at some point, we may need to bring that back. But right now, because of our hiring lag for some positions, we've been okay with that. But it is within the amount originally budgeted at the beginning of the year.
So was this recommendation based on the original RFQ in which Infomark was installed, or was it a separate RFQ?
It was the same RFQ. Infomark had what appeared to be the lowest bid at the time, so they got the first shot at the contract. Crossroads was the second company that submitted, so we went to them first when we started looking for an additional, or I guess another.
And whenever we did it, the original RFQ, we had talked with our city attorney about it, and because it's considered a health safety, you're not technically required to do an RFQ. But in this case, again, we had done one recently. There's no reason to think we would have gotten any additional responses, so we're just moving on to the second person.
So I have a question. So all these issues, I mean, when we were looking at Crossroads, we were looking at what we had existing, they were working. I mean, everybody said they were great, but we're like, oh, let's just continue with them. It wasn't well, they're cheaper. So since then and now, they've just been horrible. Like prior to that, they were great.
Well, so neither Jordan nor I was managing that contract up until that point. And so, no, I was not aware of any issues with them. And the reason we did choose them was because they appeared to be cheaper, and we had had no issues that Jordan nor I were aware of at the time. On paper, Crossroads looked more expensive, but as we are seeing Infomark bill us for every simple thing that they should be doing whenever we ask them to coordinate with TCEQ because we've received a violation, it doesn't happen. When we ask them to fill our tanks before the winter storm, I asked 10 times before I got the tanks filled. That's not acceptable.
I mean, there are instances of they forgot to turn on heaters during the winter storm and we blew a pipe at our well end, and it's just completely unacceptable. And even operators who are fresh on scene, that's during a winter storm, that is priority number one. You winterize and you hold through the storm, and to forget to turn on the heater is it's unacceptable.
And we have no other bids, it's just now we're gonna use Crossroads. We're assuming that Crossroads is gonna do a better job, but I mean, it's just, we only have Infomark and Crossroads. I just feel like, oh, they're not doing a good job, we should jump into Crossroads. Because I know Crossroads does service Sonterra, so they've been helpful to help us, but I mean, they have a big load and that's not their only area. My only concern is they might be just as bad. I mean, is it that dire that we have to jump to Crossroads, or can we get like a third bid, fourth bid?
This has not been a quick thing we've come to. We have been talking about this for months. In fact, you know, I've spoken to most of the council members, letting them know that we were considering this. We went back and forth with Crossroads. I think y'all originally submitted this proposal to us at least 2 months ago, probably. And welcome if y'all have anything to add, but like I said, the relationship we've developed with them in just the short time that we've had to ask them for help has been completely different. But it is unacceptable when we get violations for our contractor to refuse to contact TCEQ and be proactive about those issues. They are running our infrastructure into the ground, and I will be the first to admit that, yes, I was absolutely on board with them. I recommended to this council that that was the best way to go. And whenever it was apparent that they are not, I'm coming back here saying, we need to switch directions. And if that happens again with Crossroads, that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
I mean, could I ask Dennis a question?
Sure.
So,
Who are you?
Dennis Hendricks with Crossroads Utilities.
so in the beginning, when I first moved over here, I was familiar with Dennis, and he did do a good job. And so I'm gonna ask you, he's an honest individual, and like, can you support the city of Gerald just as you do Tom Terrace? I'm gonna create a lull. I mean, you are a man of your word as far as all I know from dealing with you through the mud. So I'm just asking, is this something you guys can help us, or is it gonna become just some worry and transitioning over if we do select y'all?
There is absolutely no worry for us as the operations company. We purchased just about 5 acres just south of town here on 365?
396.
396. 396. We have been serving Sunterra for 10 plus years. We've been serving Lone Star since its existence for about 6 years now. We've made it through just about every storm except for the tornado that was here. We are staffing up. Half of the staff that come through and all the staff that will be here come through Temple, all the way to our Red Rock office. So we have no concerns whatsoever. We have employees that live in Sunterra. We have employees that live in Gerald. We are committed to this organization and to this town, to the people. So we have no concerns whatsoever. We've already got relationships with 95% of your vendors. If we can utilize those relationships we have to actually save the taxpayers, utilizing our other accounts that we have, leveraging the various other plants and the 60,000 other connections that we manage. So we'll be able to help out the taxpayers on the bottom line.
That was my biggest concern, is I know you guys are already established. We already have enough issues in the city, so if we can not have these issues, it probably help the city a lot.
Our
So I
goal
wanted
is
to hear that you can do it.
Yeah. No, our goal is to actually make sure that you guys don't talk about utility issues at all.
It's fine. Hi, I'm James Wells. I'm Vice President of Operations for Crossroads. And we have a very skilled, knowledge crew. I retired from a city that's where you were in the 90s in that city. I lived through the growth there in Springville, and that's where I retired from the company. I was public works director over there. I'm 100% confident we can give you the kind of service that you and the citizens deserve over here. 100%. I live on County Road 396 right by here. Within 5 to 20 minutes, your daily staff will be within 5 to 20 minutes at any time. Our after hours on calls crew is very beefed up. We have a lot of people available. We have a lot of people with different skills. Our SCADA system people, our public motor people, our line maintenance people. We are very much ready for this and very well staffed for it.
Thank you.
Is there any penalty for releasing information?
We had a 90-day out on the contract, and so we've already had legal review that, make sure that we can get out of it with no penalty. We do have a transition plan that we would start tonight to make sure to protect our infrastructure. If this is approved by the council, and they technically have 90 days that they would be working with us, but it's likely that we will begin that transition sooner.
Any more questions?
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We're unanimous. All right, moving on to agenda item number 5, regular agenda items. Agenda item 5.1, discussion, consideration, of possible action regarding ordinance number 2024-0702-02, an ordinance approving a voluntary expansion of the extraterritorial district of 79.265 acres of land being part of the John Crothers Survey Abstract Number 148 in Williamson County, also known as the Paul Ryder Subdivision.
Mayor and council, this item specifically, in 2023, the legislator updated ETJ regulations. So at this point, people can opt in and out as they choose to do so. We don't really have much teeth to say yes or no. The only thing that this ETJ expansion changes is who's reviewing their plat. So we have an existing 1445 in Williamson County that says we review plats in the ETJ to county standards, but it's the city doing the review. I think that's the intent of this development being brought in ETJ, but it doesn't change our CCNs, it doesn't come into the city proper. It's really just that buffer boundary that's changing.
By bringing this subdivision into ETJ, are there any negatives or liabilities that we assume, or?
No, so the only thing that could potentially come up is enforcement of certain things during the planning process. But for the most part, Williamson County will still have to do the maintenance agreement for the roads. They're not our roads because it's not city proper. Utilities will not be our responsibility. There's not much that goes into an ETJ expansion.
Is there any benefit for bringing it into the ETJ?
The biggest thing is that when we push out our ETJ boundary, we're expanding our territory and what that buffer is against other municipalities. It allows us to pick up properties nearby. If they decide to opt into the ETJ, we won't receive sales tax from it. It's just one of those things. The only thing that changes is who reviews the plat and possibly the construction plans, but anything that's the county's to own, they have to review, so it would be minor.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2024-0702-02 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Unanimous. Moving on, agenda item 5.2, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution number 2024-0702-03, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gerald, Texas, appointing members to the Impact Fee Committee.
Mayor and council, this one specifically, we have been working through a water and wastewater master plan update. With that comes an impact fee committee in order to adopt the rates established in that impact fee report and master plans. We were going to proceed with the plan and adoption and all the public hearings that go into the impact fee itself, and then we realized we could not track down a member that was appointed previously. So with this item, it may not be that we're approving the committee tonight. We need feedback from you guys on whether or not you want to open up applications. If you guys have someone specific in mind, we can approach them and try to appoint with your approval. There's a couple of ways to do this, so we want to check in and see how you guys want to proceed.
With the resolution as presented, it lists some applicants below. Did they formally apply or express interest to serve?
So the way the current ordinance reads, it's the P and Z plus one. And so this would be our current P and Z plus one, and then the one is what we would have.
Has the P&Z discussed this?
They were fully ready to serve. It was that one last member that we could not track down. But I haven't had any hesitation from the P and Z to step up for it.
And it's typically advisable that you do utilize the P and Z for the majority of your committee, just because after these are adopted, there's required, I believe it's every 6 months or at least every year, that they have to review the plan, present recommendations to council, if it should be updated and all of that. And so it's always very difficult to get a new committee that only meets occasionally to come together for that. And so if it's just one person that we're having to bring in, it makes it a lot easier. And the position we're specifically needing to fill is a representative of our ETJ, preferably that is also a member of the development community. And if we can't find somebody that satisfies both of those, then it would be 2 people that we would need to add.
And in the Texas Local Government Code, the development community is defined as real estate agent, builder, developer. I mean, there's a pretty wide word, so.
So if the council is okay with using the P and Z for the bulk of it, what we would recommend is that y'all just table this item, telling us to advertise so that we can just put out a call on social media and on our website asking for people who are interested to meet with those applicants back.
So if there's ever a change to the PNC, does it automatically reflect that change in this ordinance, or how does that work?
I believe if you appoint your planning and zoning commission, I think you might be covered on that. Worst case scenario, we would have to bring it back to the council just as a formality. But there is that 40% requirement for the development community. So if somebody from the development community leaves, then we may have to appoint another member. So it'll be a constant thing that we're tracking it to make sure that we come back to council before, if for some reason we no longer qualify with the current members.
So you're just, Commissioner Clear, your recommendation to go ahead and table it and just give y'all direction to advertise.
Yes, the only reason we would take action tonight is if the council knew of somebody that they thought would be willing to serve, but we just figured we'd put this out here in its final format and ask y'all if this was the correct way to proceed.
I'm okay with it.
And so we'll advertise just for that one representative for ETJ. Got it.
Motion
Do you
table.
want a motion table, or what do you do?
Yes, that would probably be best, and I would just recommend you table it till August, and hopefully we will have received enough applications by that point. It's not easy criteria to meet, so it may not be something where y'all actually have to interview.
Then I'll make the motion to table it till August.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. It's unanimous. All right, agenda item 5.3, discussion, consideration of possible action regarding ordinance number 2024-0702-04, an ordinance providing for floodplain management.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This ordinance is to be able to participate in the Williamson County Atlas Floodplain Preparedness Initiative, which aims to update the outdated FEMA plans that were last updated in 1970s and 1980s. The big importance of being participant is we ensure that we're in compliance with federal and state law. And by doing that, the benefits are trickles to the residents. One, they can opt in for affordable flood insurance. And the city can also participate in asking for grants for any infrastructure improvement that is required in the future.
This is a very standard things for cities to do, and so thankful that we have our city engineer on board for him to bring this forward. But it's definitely, there's no negatives to this. It's all positive, like you mentioned, the benefit of being able to have access to grants, more affordable flood insurance coverage is very much a benefit.
This is something we have to like apply for when we join.
We just asked the Williamson County to participate, and they will include the city in the study.
Are any of the other cities around us participating?
Yes,
Which are?
I believe Georgetown is part of the study. Bartlett is part of the study.
When is the study supposed to be completed?
The study is supposed to be completed by 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Unanimous. Agenda item 5.4, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the Gerald EDC funding a project with National Fitness Campaign and Blue Cross Blue Shield for a fitness sports studio. Tracy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you'll recall, at the last council meeting, we had brought this forth and the council did not feel like it was good use of EDC funds. So we took it back to the EDC board and they rescinded their original motion, so they have chosen not to move forward with this project. So I don't know if there's any action that needs to be taken other than we just won't bring it back at this time to be able to fund the project. Maybe at a later date and time when we have some other things and funds that we can utilize for this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You said no action on this item? All right, agenda item 5.5, discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 2024-0702-05, ordinance adopting procedures in which to conduct an appeal pursuant to Texas Local Government Code Section 212.904.
Danielle, if I'm missing any more details, please jump in. So, the city is seeking to lay pipes under a development, and the developer has been disagreeing with the analysis of what the city's engineer said was the proper cost apportionment between the city and the developer. So, the city currently does not have any ordinance that provides for a procedure for reviewing a request for appeal of that determination. So this ordinance will put that measure in place and allow the city to hear the appeal. And it's governed by existing local government code. And the ordinance should be drafted out. I don't know if you want me to go through the procedures that would be in the appeal process or not.
I mean, is it like a standard thing cities have?
Yes, yes.
And this will be something, we need the ordinance approved to move forward, but it will be on a future agenda, possibly a special call meeting, because it's likely to be a lengthy process. And it is associated with a development that we'll discuss in the executive session later on. But this is, as far as itself, it's just a very standard ordinance, just outlining the procedures.
This is something we have to do, or what happens if we don't approve?
It would go to district court. The city might get in a little bit of trouble for not having a procedure in place just because that's what local government code requires. But it's recommended anyway, because by doing this, you could potentially avoid a lawsuit.
I mean, this is something I assume the city should have already had in place.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect, right?
I agree.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Unanimous. All right. Agenda item number 6, we're going to adjourn into closed executive session. To discuss agenda item 6.1, closed executive session pursuant to 551.087. The Texas Government Code to deliberate economic development negotiations regarding Project Lunch Lady, as well as agenda item 6.2, closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code section 551.071 for a consultation with city attorney regarding the Eastern Wells development. Carroll City Council is now adjourned at 7:36 p.m. The Gerald City Council is now back in session at 8:41 p.m. Agenda item 7.1, discussing consideration and possible action regarding economic development negotiations regarding Project Lunch Lady.
Make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute a letter of intent with Abbott Food Service LLC.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Unanimous. Agenda item 7.2, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Eastern Wells development. We have no action on this item. And with that, we have no further business. Gerald City Council is now adjourned at 8:42 p.m.
What?